Yeah, when I was at the Scrub 74 and I had to, do these two Indian guys that was mucking about what they'd done to that young girl, yeah. When I eventually moved to Albany, um, A Wing, Terry Vowles, a few people went, and then I moved to C Wing. Um, I made myself a little bit busy. I didn't want to be bullied by anybody, you know what I mean? I was only young, so I'd have fights, and being I was a bit of a fighter anyway, I got steamed into people, and I hurt some people with white faces. So they knew what to take liberties with me, yeah? And the screws would see me fight and they bang me up, this, that, and the other. So what they decided to do is put me under a psychologist, yeah? And she was in this big house. Albany Prison used to be an army barracks, yeah? So Albany, the wings like A, B, C, D, used to be, they were all the wings they put up later. But there's a couple of buildings there that used to be for the army. And on top of the exercise yard, there's a great big house, yeah? That's for psychology and all them sort of people, you know what I mean? Anyway, so go across there and see her, and she to get me in there and, sit down, and all of a sudden she say, right, Mr. Hill, imagine, you're in a bad mood or something's upset you. I want you to just show me press-ups. Just do 5 or 6 press-ups, Mr. Hill. So she got me doing press-ups, 5 or 6 press-ups, yeah. Then she got me to stand up and do curls, with nothing, no bar, no, just curls. Then she got me to do sit-ups and all that. She said, look, that's exactly what I want you to do, Mr. Hill. Anytime you feel violent, I want you to go to your cell and I want you to do these sort of exercises. Do you understand that, sir? I went, yes, Mrs. I do, yeah. And anyway, it was like, I said to her, look, it's a bit awkward, right, if I'm in a toilet or wherever, I recess or whatever, in the kitchen or whatever, and someone has a go at me. I said, 1 minute, I've got to do 10 press-ups, it's not that easy. She said, no, when you feel a bit funny, I thought, hey, they're gonna wind up trying to section me off here by the sounds of things. So I've got to do exactly what she tells me to do, because I'm gonna see me being sections, yeah. So anyway, I was, when there's 2 books here. There's a book being written by my mate Matt Trollope, which is a big book, yeah, which is all about me. So we could say all the stories, yeah. But when I done the other one with Julian Davis, he done about 10 to 20 boxers, yeah, and fighters, street fighters. So he made the story short, and he told me to make the story as short as I could, not big, because my stories just go on and on and on. So, anyway, so he's cut it all down when I cut things down, yeah. So anyway, after I see the psychologist and all this, that and the other, and I'm having a row with this guy called Tank. I don't stop rallying with this geezer. He's a big guy, works in the works, he goes in the gym, plays a lot of basketball, he's really big, muscular guy, 6'2", 6'3", but a bit muscular guy, really defined. And he was all right, he was a nice guy. I used to see him, I was going to the gym in Albany on stage with Peter Kelly's and all the people that in the White Powers of Mine, got to be White Powers of Mine, training on the stage. And he was all right, He'd get on the stage sometimes, have a little workout. He was as good as gold. I don't know what happened. When that day I went to the hot plate and I dished out the food and he started nicking eggs and all that, and it got out of hand, and we had a right bad fight, and I smashed the surroundings of the staircase and all that, and he broke my hand, and I went upstairs, and that morning, because there was a big fight, didn't let no one out. But that morning, he come to my cell. It's only because I had a nail in the concrete to stop the door opening up, and also a wooden wedge. Yeah, we always put 2 things, a nail and the wedge. Yeah, because if the wedge don't work, the nail works. Yeah, but he pushed that door so hard, and I was sleeping that in by the door anyway. He pushed that in so hard that the door opened up about 2 inches, and he tried to get his hand in there with a knife to stab me. You know, if I had a door had been open normal, because in Albany they never come out with the keys. It was electric, so as soon as it clicks, the door's open. The door's open. That was the worst thing about Albany. A lot of people got hurt in Albany because of that. Because of that clicking. It was a click, door goes, anybody can walk in your cell and bash you up and stab you up, right? And a lot of people used to do it, you know, and I was told by Peter Kelly said, listen, the best thing to do, mate, put a nail, I'll get you a nail, mate, he was on the works, I'll get you a nail, we'll put it in the concrete, and also I'll get you a wedge out of the wood, yeah? So I was sweet, but when he come in, he tried to do me, but he couldn't get his arm in. Come on, mate, you know what I mean? I could have been stabbed in the eye or whatever. And then I tried to get out to get to him, but because he'd whacked my door so hard, the nail was bent over more, and the wedge was wedged in more, and I couldn't get to him, you know. But eventually, when I was doing other things on the wing, laundry and all that game, he tried to kill me, mate. He got me upstairs and pushed me down the stairs, and he cut all my belly open with a Stanley knife, yeah? Do you know, and I thought, this geezer's like, wants to kill me. It's only the screws, like, sort of shouting and screaming, do your work and all that game. You know, I was doing all the kits, you know, and I run to my cell and got a couple of towels, tied them up and boom, tied it around my waist and still done my job and put the jacket on. I went to the kitchen after greedy me wanted more money. And, you know, like, I knew, you know, when I see him, that time, I see him, like, when we'd had a fight, me and him, when we'd had a fight in the toilet, and I smashed him around, and he smashed me a bit around the two. When he went into the gym, right, and I was on the stage with Peter Kelly and some other people, right, and he walked in, and I said to Peter, look, we've had a row. Peter knew all about it. He went, cool, you made a good job of his face. His face was all smashed, yeah? I said, yeah, I said, you know, he's and that night, and that next day, he tried to stab me, and I thought, his skeezer is either going to kill me, or I've got to try and do something to him, you know, get him, I don't know how to go about it, yeah? But I can always remember that Albany had this wooden thing with a big block of wood on it, so keep the door open, the television door open, so the screws didn't have to muck about, it could go straight in and sort out any problems in there. And I come up from the kitchen early, you know, I want to do him, I had to do him, because if I didn't do him, you know, without a shadow of doubt, I think shit, he'd have killed me. You know, if anybody comes to your cell with a knife, he ain't come to give you a little nick, he's come to stab you up, you know, and they sort of not, you know, he's made these knives, he could have killed me easier. No one would know, just put the door to and gone, you know. So anyway, I hit him with a wood, the screws banged me up in my cell and all that, and all the cells are locked, you know, and the big thing which I left out is the psychologist. You know, when the psychologist, they brought her to my cell, you know, to talk to me, and I didn't want to say nothing. I was just in the Cloud Cookery Lounge, yeah, because of what happened. I knew they was going to bash me right up. You know, you can hear the screws running around. You knew you were going to get bashed up, yeah. And she's shouting through the door, "You'll be okay, Mr. Hill," you know. And I thought, I'm going to get sectioned off. They're going to section me off without a shadow of doubt, you know. And all of a sudden, the screws come in with her. They pushed her aside, and they steamed into me, mate. And she's screaming, "No, leave him, leave him, leave him!" And they just darted me up, boom. But when I hit the screw in the spleen and shut the door, I knew then I was in trouble. I knew then they was going to really bash me up, because they tried to bash me up, you know, but I done the screw, and I could hear them all outside running around, mate. And I hear my dog go click, and that was it, straight in. I had no chance. They darted me up, boom, from the door. I had no chance, mate, and I fell down on the floor, and they just bashed me up, mate. They bashed me up so bad, you know. And it's like, you know, And it's like my life from that time going to Parkhurst and all that, and what they did to me, you know, it doesn't bear thinking about, mate. People, when I do my podcast here, or do my video on YouTube, you know, and I try to tell people about it, and people go, nah, it's lying, because of what's ever happened from my sister. How would my sister know? She doesn't know nothing about prisons or me being in prison or nothing. She doesn't know anything, you know. Christine doesn't know. My wife, my sister doesn't know. They don't know nothing about me. My mum, she come and visited me once in Albany. I didn't want her to come across that water, mate. It was too much for her. Christine come and visited me once. That was it, really. You know, things weren't easy in Albany, you know what I mean? I mean, Albany was a prison that it's very easy in Albany to get killed, you know, especially in them early days when I was there, you know, because there was a lot of people around that you was going to get it, mate. They didn't muck about out there. I didn't muck about in Albany. It was one of them places, you know. It was easy to get to. It was, when I say not easy to get to the prison, but it was easy to get to on the wings. It was easy to get to someone, you know. The way it was designed so people would get killed. Do you know what I mean? It was like a T-shape, wasn't it? You had the centre, you had one wing to the right, one wing to the left, and one wing in front of you. So they called it a spur, you know. And it could easily get killed in there, so easy, yeah. It's like, you know, screws could watch all sides. They thought they could, but it was a bad design, you know. And a lot of people in there, a lot of people got really hurt, you know. Really hurt. I mean, when Togi was in there, Togi Ludlow, I know a lot of people say bad things about him, but a lot of people say bad things about me, but I'm only telling you what, you know, about Togi. My mate Togi there, when he was in there, and I was in there with him, mate, he used to hurt a lot of people. He used to hurt a lot of people. It was like just something he did. It was quite easy for him to do. You know, he just went around plunging people, you know. And I told you a little story about when he put them two guys in the bath. I mean, come on, why would you do that? Why would you put two people in the bath because it's their birthdays, tie them both up and put one on top and one at the bottom and put them in a bath of water, and the one on top be sweet and the one at the bottom is nearly drowning. He's trying to get up. You know, he wanted to kill people. It was like absolutely crazy, you know. And when they went into Ronnie Walker, mate, must be still alive, you can remember this, Ron. When he went into Ronnie Walker's cell, Ron was on a visit, thought he'd be all flash because they used to play cards and all this, that and the other. Ronnie Walker come in from a visit with a Rolex Oyster on. Silly as anything, walking around with a Rolex Oyster. In them days, I suppose they were $5 grand, $6 grand, maybe more, even more than that. Yeah, gold Rolex, you know, 74s, 75s. Rolex Oyster, come in Ronnie Walker, and they just wanted it. You know, what a fool. They wanted it, they rushed his cell, they tied him, they turned him up, so I tied his hands down and tied him up, and they just nicked the Rolex Oyster. And there he was in bed, couldn't get out of bed, the screws, you know, he's just lost his Rolex. And it's like, what happened in Albany? You know, I've seen loads of guys in Albany get stabbed up, you know. And when you come out of your cell, to go back in your cell at night time without getting stabbed up in Albany was a result. You know, it was one of them prisons that there was a lot of faces in there, loads of faces, proper people, nice people, but dangerous people, you know. And people like Togi was one of them people they would give tobacco to, or a bit of this, a bit of that, and he would just go with a few people and stab you up, mate. And stab you up. It was murder for that, Togi. It really was bad. You know, and it was the same when I went to Chelmsford and he was there. You know, Terry Millman and all that, little Lou Swallow and all these people that was in these prisons, like around Togi. Togi had a little firm, and that's how he survived. He would hurt people, you know. Anyway, just a quick little story. I'm going to tell more stories later about Albany, about other things. Listen, at the minute, there's a lot of people out there on my YouTube that don't like me no more. But the only reason they don't like me no more is about my sister saying this and saying that. She can say what she likes, yeah. Listen, she wants to hurt me. Of course she's hurt me. All she keeps doing is trying to hurt me. But I'll just do my thing. I don't worry. People get saying, you ain't getting no views and this, that and the other. But I don't worry about that. I like to tell my stories. Even if I tell them 2 or 3 times, I change it because my book's changed by my other book, and I read it and I think I put that together a bit better, like I've done this one. People that have got my book Street Fighters, the stories in there are similar to my book, but only short. If you've got 14 pages in one book, yeah, and you've got a big book with maybe 500-600 pages, it's a lot different, isn't it? You know what I mean? The story's going to be longer, and you can imagine, can't you, when you're writing a book, it's not easy, mate. It's not easy to remember things, you know what I mean? Anyway, bang, bang, well, nice one, yeah?